Proudly presented by Pentz Homes and part of the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network. This is Lynx Happy Hour. Lynx fans, welcome, one and all, to another episode of Lynx Happy Hour, the podcast where Lynx basketball is always on special. You are listening to this almost certainly on Friday, May 2nd, if not later. A little bit of a late post for this episode, and I am sincerely sorry for that. This yesterday slash today, when I'm talking to you, it's about 10:15 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, May 1st, and it was my deadline day for the season preview for the Minnesota Lynx written piece over at thenexthoops.com, my beloved employer, which is why I cover the Lynx. So please be sure to go read that. It might be posted already, and read the previews for every single team as they're rolling out over at the Next. I'm very lucky to be a small part of a very, very talented team that covers women's basketball every day at the Next. I think we've really got the league on lockdown. Beat writers in every market, just wise sages who have been covering the league for years, posting new stuff and new stories every day. So be sure to follow and bookmark thenexthoops.com. Add it to your daily website rotation. You can't call yourself a WNBA fan without it. So yeah, that is my today is my day for that, and it got in the way of my normal podcast editing time, so I'm a little bit late. But that's, sometimes that's why they have late happy hours. Sometimes it's like 4 to 6 and then 10 to close. So this is a 10 to close Lynx happy hour, and every hour is happy hour when you're talking Lynx basketball. It's officially preseason. Friday, May 2nd, our first preseason game, Wings Aces on Ion. We're televising every single preseason game now, which feels crazy that wasn't the norm before, but we are doing it. It's happening, and I'm excited to see Paige in action. Who knows how long the big names will play in these preseason games, but always happy to turn the lights on, get out in the arena, get fans in the stands. It's WNBA season, baby. So we're back. I'm very excited about this episode as well. I talk to my friend Sloane Martin, who will be back in the booth with the radio play-by-play call for the Lynx this season. That's every single game, home and away, on KFan, the iHeart app, iHeart as well. I think you can just go to iHeart.com if you aren't an apps guy. But Lynx Happy Hour, got to get a couple apps too. No, that was a terrible digital bar food dual joke there. I apologize for that. But Sloane will be on the radio. I know I had some fans chatting about that on Blue Sky, asking if I knew anything. I knew a couple of things, but now it's official. It's out there. Sloane Martin, your radio play-by-play announcer for the Lynx. And both preseason games against the Sky will be available on the FanDuel Sports Network, and all 44 games will be accessible. And yeah, this is just a great season to watch a lot of women's basketball, and a lot of great news. I'm glad we finally got here, and it won't be like last year when the Lynx were playing the Sky, in fact. And a fan just started live streaming the game on their Twitter account, and so like 2 million people tapped into it. So the league noticed that. Whoever you are, I knew the name. Someone tell me, if you're the person or the person whose Twitter handle that was, let me know, because we need to give that person props. Kathy Engelbert owes you a cut of whatever they get, probably from all games, but especially the preseason games. You did honorable work in helping us get to this moment, and you deserve praise. And I'll shut you out on Lynx Happy Hour, which can praise get any higher than that? I don't think it can. So yeah, let's get into my conversation with Sloane. Sloane's so great and is going to do a great job on on the call this year, and I was really excited to talk to her. We talk all things media day, just kind of our takeaways. We got to talk to everyone with the exception of Kayla McBride and Dorka Juhas and Ola Kosu. Dorka's season, I believe, is still wrapping up in Italy. McBride, I think, just got some well-deserved time off. Lynx fans know from the time that K-Mac just got off a plane, went to a game and drained, like 9 threes consecutively. K-Mac doesn't need a K-Mac is always in game shape. She plays like 13 months a year. It's fucking crazy. So K-Mac will be ready. I do believe she's in market now, if not yet, very soon, and we'll be practicing. But we haven't gotten a chance to talk with her yet, which is a shame for us because K-Mac's always a delight. And Dorka should be back as soon as she can. And with Kosu, we still don't know because I believe the final game of her season was today, May 1st. But we don't know the immigration status and things like that can take forever. So yay, bureaucracy. But before we get into that, I'll remind you that this episode and all episodes of Lynx Happy Hour are brought to you by Pentz Homes. The team at Pentz Homes has experience working with first-time home buyers, folks selling their first home and buying their next place, to people looking to downsize. With the best tools, technology, and trusted vendors to help with any home project, Pentz Homes is a top choice for buyers and sellers. For more info and to set up a time to meet with Nate and the team to talk about your home buying or selling needs, visit pentzhomes.com. That's Pentz, Pentz homes.com. All right, that's enough for me for now. Let's chat with Sloane Martin. Why don't we? Lynx fans, joining me now that the news is official, one of the most experienced broadcasters in the game, and once again, this year, the official radio play-by-play voice of the Minnesota Lynx, Sloane Martin. Sloane, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thank you, Terry. Yay, we can finally say it. It's out. I've been, keeping this a secret. Not even my mom, not my mom, my mother-in-law was
Oh,
also,
wow.
she didn't even know till the announcement came out,
Ooh.
tight-lipped.
So how does sometimes with news like this, people are like, just yay, so excited, congrats right away. And then sometimes there's the people who are like, why didn't you tell me before they told everyone? So um
No, luckily
glad
none of that. No hard feelings.
glad mother-in-law finally got the good news, and we'll have
Yes.
that radio dial tune to K-Fan every time the Lynx are in action this season. If you have not heard that yet, Sloane Martin will be returning to your airwaves on the call for every game, home and away. Congrats on the gig, and I'm very excited. People were asking about this, and I was saying I'm sure someone will be, and then I found out, oh, it's Sloane. Familiar voice, familiar face. Just very, very excited. So congrats.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's very cool to step back into this role, one that I had in 2019 that I cherished. But I mean, myself, my broadcasting, my life is all in a completely different place than it was then. I mean, back then I was still working full time at WCCO Radio, where I'd work my normal 8 hour day and scurry over to Target Center and call a game that night. And things are much different now. I've been a full-time play-by-play broadcaster since 2021. I've
Mhm.
advanced a lot in that area. So I'm really excited to see how that's going to be reflected with a team that I have such a long history with and have really embedded with for a long time.
For sure. And getting to go on every road trip too. I mean, it'll be a busy summer for you, I'm sure.
It
But
is as if I'm not already away from home enough in the winter time. And that's the thing too, is that everything's staying the same. I'm still going to be, on national TV during the college season. So it was like,
yeah,
why not just add some more trips in there?
right. Well, at least for WNBA, and it's not like on a team road trip you get all of this free time to go enjoy these other cities. Usually it's the exact opposite. If you, not to diminish anyone else, but if you have one city, one WNBA market you're most looking forward to visit this year, what would you say?
You know what? I actually have a pretty easy answer about that. I'm originally from Los Angeles, so that's always my favorite place
Okay.
to go. I actually stay with my parents when I go there, and they bring me to work like I'm a kid and I'm sitting in the
That's
back
nice.
seat. But it's nice, obviously, to see them. I've lived away, I've lived out of their home since I was 18 years old.
Mhm.
And so I will, get some nights in the pool. And so I'm looking forward to that. They also might make those trips to San Francisco and to Vegas as well. So
For sure.
don't say West Coast bias, but those are definitely ones that are up there.
Right. So when there's a particularly generous play-by-play call for the LA Sparks, Lynx fans will know. Just kidding. None of that. None of that here. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for making your Lynx Happy Hour debut. Here at Lynx Happy Hour, where Lynx basketball is always on special. So we're very excited to get to chat with you. It's been great the last handful of days with training camp in session. And media day. Well, they split media day into 2 days, but the portion where we get to talk to every player one after the other was yesterday. We are recording this on Wednesday, April 30th, by the way, listener. And we got to talk to absolutely everyone, ask a lot of questions. So just being back around the team now in this setting where they have to give us access and have to open themselves up for conversations. To their credit, none of them are acting like they have to do it. They're very enjoyable and lovely to be around. But just what have been your sort of biggest takeaways here after a few days and getting to hear from everybody who's been in town so far?
It's still really early so far, but it feels like this really is the same team. And we don't want to say too much too soon. I remember Cheryl Reeve saying on day one, we cannot make assumptions, and seasons are different. We can't just assume we're going to be that team that has the amazing chemistry and connection. That's going to be the amazing defensive team that we saw. We have to build that up again. Yes, we're not starting from scratch. Yes, we're farther along because we already have that main group in, but you still sense the personalities, the culture that still exists here, the bright minds, the familiar faces. It just feels like it's last year. This feels like this team that is determined, that's confident, that has the chip on the shoulder. You're going to hear that a lot this season on the radio and off. Certainly, this team being very motivated to avenge what happened, and still how heartbreaking that was for a long time for some of these teams. I remember, speaking of media day, I remember Natisha Heidemann, where she
Yes.
said, she cursed and said, like, that stuff was really hard to deal with. I was depressed for about 3 straight weeks after that. Um, and you could see where that is still stinging this team as well with the way the finals ended. Courtney Williams, who was always a magnificent soundbite, but her saying too, this is absolutely a revenge tour.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So I think seeing that kind of energy, and we'll see how it comes together in training camp, because it was training camp where this team built those blocks to become the team that we saw. So this is a critical period, but one that you feel like you can trust the people that are there. They understand what needs to happen.
Right. And last year, I remember that last year, and I put it in pretty much everything I wrote and tried to mention it in every conversation I had where, Cheryl kind of always starts every training camp being like, well, everyone around the league likes what they see right now. There's not going to be a lot of social media posts of like, oh, we didn't like our energy. Like it's day one, it's day two, it's day three. This is, if it's not good right now, then something's drastically wrong. But there were a lot of conversations in training camp last year, and there, especially on Courtney, Natisha, Alana Smith, there being new pieces, but it didn't take long for them to say, like, we've got something here, and we're not just calling it good chemistry just as, like, because it's chemistry is the cliche buzzword. And when we start playing together, like you'll see it. And they were good right out of the gate with winning the season opener at Seattle, which is always a tough place to play, coming back and beating the Storm again in overtime, and they never really looked back. And now it's sort of like they can have an advantage that all of that's in place, and they've added around the edges, and there are new players who will play a lot. But I'm really curious to see, like, they put all the stuff they put in place last year is already in place, and they can just build off of that and really hit the ground running. So I totally agree with you that this feels like, it doesn't feel like the first day of school where you're like kind of looking around and like new classmates, new teacher, that kind of thing. And
No,
that could
very
be a
much so.
that could be a dramatic advantage that they have over everyone else, because even New York, like, looking at, like, total minutes played among all the teams last year, New York's losing a significantly higher amount of contributors than the Lynx are.
No, that's a really good point to say about that. I think also having point guards, for example. I mean, New York losing Courtney Vandersloot, and I know that, her minutes in her role were different over the course of the season. She obviously went through, a terrible family situation as well
Mhm.
that affected her season. But when you talk about that kind of role and that presence in particular, when the Lynx bring all that back, all these voices that are so important, I love to hear around the team too about, the different styles of leadership, whether it is Fee or Courtney, who I can't remember who said it, but she's going to tell you what you need to hear.
Yes.
And that's a really important presence to have. The way she's able to take whatever Cheryl throws at her, it's not the easiest. We know this over a long period of time to be a point guard for Cheryl Reeve, the responsibilities and kind of have how you have to translate what she's telling you and get it done and execute on the floor. So I think you make a good point that yes, we know that from very early on. Clearly, the Lynx are deciding to run in this back, and for very good reason. It was great success, a 30-win season, getting, within a couple possessions of a WNBA championship. But I think you see that with the voices, the presence that continues to be there more than even just the production that they're bringing back at the same time. It's the positions, the people, and how it all fit together.
Right. And the player who I think is in line to play the most, not to get too predictive with the future here. But the top 7 minute getters from last year are back. And the biggest addition is probably Carly Samuelson, who the Lynx made an aggressive trade to get on draft night. Cheryl made no bones about it. Carly Samuelson is on this team. Like, she's not coming into training camp to compete for a spot, and we'll figure it out later. Like, she'll be on this team. And Carly, she talked about it with us today, a little bit yesterday, and sort of through this process. Her sister Katie Lou being a 4-year teammate of Fee's in college, and Carly would visit and got to know Fee really well. Of course, her college teammate was Alana Smith, and her overseas teammate this past offseason was Bridget Carlton. So it's like, it's almost unfair to everyone else. It's like, oh yeah, here's this new player who needs to fit in, and she already knows everyone super well, and there's this great history to draw upon. So I like, what are you expecting sort of let's talk about Carly Samuelson specifically for a little bit, because that's obviously kind of the biggest offseason thing, but it does sort of seem like she's just very comfortable in her shoes, like, right away. Also a great soundbite, and I think is just, with Bridget coming over a little bit later and hasn't been practicing every day, she's really gotten an opportunity to get some run in with the first team. What are you sort of expecting out of Carly this year, and sort of what of your first impressions of her being a Lynx been like over these past few days?
I wouldn't be surprised to see her be the first, if not one of the first, right off the bench
Mhm.
once this team is, completely whole at this point. How cool is her story? And it goes along with, multiple other players on the team. Lan, of course, immediately comes to mind. Players who were let go by other teams, and Cheryl talked about this on day one. Yes, that happened, but we've been the beneficiaries of these players finding their resilience and their confidence. And then now we get to see what this product is and continue to build off of that compared to earlier on in their career. And I like how, self-aggrandizing she is, where she's like, I know I've had all the hardship contracts, the 7-day contracts. I know what it's like to come into a training camp not knowing anything. She's like, I've signed with a team and had to play the next day. So it's
Yeah.
really accustomed to me to be able to step into teams, find that familiarity, and figure out what's going on. She has also just truly been a joy to talk to. This is a high IQ player. When she says, the reason I stuck it out for so long is because I love basketball. You really feel that. You really believe it. She was up and down, in and out of the league, playing overseas, 7-day contract, hardship contract, but the last couple of years, finally breaking through as a starter. And to hear her say, too, I haven't been on a winning team before, but you can see the comfort that is there. We know the shooting ability. We've seen that since her Stanford days. We've known what she's capable of from beyond the arc. She's shown it the last couple seasons, including last year, especially just shy of 40% in a starting role. That's something already to be extremely excited about and really enticed about. But I think a perfect fit, Terry, for the culture of this team. I think preserving that has been an utmost goal for Cheryl Reeve in the leadership of this team because of how important that was to this team's success, that they're going to be a good fit, that they're going to be selfless. And I think she fits into that mold perfectly. Plus, the skill set that she brings, the connections that she already has. I mean, it all works together to say, hey, this was a really, really important pickup and one that I think is going to be, really paying dividends throughout the season.
Right. And I don't want to pigeonhole her into any specific type of role, but I think the type of player she is was something that Cheryl prioritized this offseason with losing Chechi in the expansion draft.
For
And
sure.
just with how good Chechi was at what she did coming off the bench and providing just, ruthless perimeter defense, just a killer jump shot, especially from behind the 3 point line, and just being a vet who knows what Cheryl wants and knows how to do it. And I think that was something they were looking for this whole offseason. And I can't remember if it was Cheryl who mentioned it or if it was a couple of I think Jen Hatfield, our Mystics reporter, who I had on a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of hard to make a deal with the Mystics because they were sort of behind on uh, all of their front office hires, especially ones Eric Thibault, who was dismissed, which is a benefit of the Lynx. He's on staff now, and we're just getting rave reviews about Eric, no matter who you ask. So I think it was like kind of like a right time kind of thing where there was a few months that passed since the expansion draft until draft day. So I don't know if there were close to any kind of deals being made or any free agent contracts. But as they say, good things come to those who wait. And Carly Samuelson had to wait for her first guaranteed contract in the league, and now she's on a team with a defined role with designs of winning a title.
What I loved, she also said this at shoot around too, where she was meeting with the Tebows for dinner, and she said,
Yeah,
I didn't really even believe this was actually happening until they showed up.
yeah,
And she realized she was going to be able to get that contract. But I think that her entire journey can be an inspiration for people. I wrote down yesterday where she said, you can't control outcomes, but you can control what you do every day. And I was like, wow, that's something everybody I
yeah,
think like take to heart and really remember. So I think Lynx fans are going to really enjoy not just her productivity, but just the energy that she
right,
brings. She's definitely that like light in the room kind of
right.
people.
We haven't even had her available for a week, and we have like 10 different
Yeah.
great Carly quotes. So it's just like, whenever your career ends, Carly, you can just be a on-call therapist for a long time. And
Yes.
well, and Carly took a huge leap in 2023, and that parlayed itself into a contract with Washington where she was great again this year or last year. And on the Lynx last season, Fee leveled up to being one of the best players in the planet. I said it, I think, on Andrew's show earlier this week. Probably the MVP in like 90% of other WNBA seasons that have happened. Um, and you talk about Lan and Bridget both had just kind of crazy leaps. Who do you think takes a leap from where they are this year? And obviously, it could be 3 or 5 players, but just sort of who do you think is kind of poised to show like not only are they very good, but they are even better than we thought they were?
I want to say one thing about Fee first, because she's still going to be that player in
Yeah.
the MVP
I think Fee might
conversation.
be the best player on the planet, and the funniest thing about that is she's better than I think she is.
That's
At the
truly the
same
case.
time, yeah,
Right off the bat from day one, Cheryl said she's similar to Asia Wilson, where each and every single year there's going to be something new. And she's like, that's a scary prospect when whether you're playing Asia or whether you're playing Fee. So I'm very much looking forward to see what the next leap is for Fee because we know there will be one. In
mm-hmm.
terms of my actual answer, it's going to be Natisha Heineman. Cheryl has already said early on here, we want to get more out of her from that second unit. We want her to drive to the basket, to shoot threes more. She had a career low year last year compared to what we saw on Connecticut, a different kind of role for her, a different team. And she was always, I think, very amenable working with her. Seemed like she clearly was part of that great culture and understood what was being asked of her, even if it was different, even if those numbers were down. She started off slow, definitely improved as the season went along, I thought, in commanding that second unit. But when Cheryl said that, one of the earliest things in this training camp that they want to encourage her to shoot more and to be more aggressive, look for her own shot, I thought, That's exactly what's going to happen because she's eager to score. I think she sees herself in that way. And I think that's going to benefit that second unit tremendously to have that more confident ball handler who can also look for her own shot as well. So I think there's the directive, but also the motivation from her to want to step it up and produce more offensively, which we've seen from earlier in her career with Connecticut. You know, it's there. This is not asking her to do something completely new or unfamiliar to her either.
Right. I remember last year in T's introductory press conference, Cheryl said the light could not be more green. We want Natisha Heidemann shooting threes. And I know she got off to a bit of a slow start just from a scoring standpoint. Like the
Yes.
scoring
Yes.
numbers weren't quite there from what people wanted, but like it was still there in bursts throughout the year. And I don't think there's a number of 3-point attempts where Cheryl would be like, all right, that's enough. Let's settle down here. So that's going to be really exciting. And T, of course, had a great offseason in Unrivaled, and helped Team Rose bring home the championship. So I'm very excited to see what she does, and also the versatility of Natisha Heidemann. She was also probably the MVP reporter at Media Day yesterday, just filling in to grill Bridget Carlton right before her session. So yeah, even well, T's just going to be playing great basketball, and then I look forward to her showing us that she's better at our jobs as well throughout the season.
Yeah, no surprise about that. We do need to follow up with her though when she tests a couple more pizza places. She came in
Yeah,
our
yeah.
media room and just served herself a plate, which no problem with that. But she
Mhm.
said she was going to try a new place, and I think we might have to keep up with
Right.
that.
She said she was very excited about this, but did not know the name or was not going to reveal the name. And I can see, T being keenly aware and be like, if I find a great pizza place, that's my new favorite pizza place in Minneapolis. I don't want all these media members to know where it is. So I get it. I get it, T. But yeah, I love talking food with people. So we'll have to follow up with her and see when she's had
Yes.
time. They have a day off tomorrow, Thursday, May 1st. So maybe that'd be the time to go do some pizza exploration in the Twin Cities. Um, I love that answer as well. Do you think so? That we've talked about the players who were here last year and all the players that they made sort of a big trade for in Carly Samuelson, but there'll be at least 11 players on this roster. Sort of who from the crop of like whether it be training camp players or returning players, like you know of the group of Diamond Miller, Alyssa Peely, who didn't play a ton last year, but clearly the organization thinks a lot of. Just sort of, is there any one name in that group that you've been impressed with so far, or you might just be expecting kind of a bigger jump in production from?
Even before you said her name, I was already thinking Diamond Miller. And she had an interesting discussion with us on Media Day too, where it seemed very genuine, where she was saying it wasn't just like, the typical kind of like jock athlete answer, where she seemed very much, very steadfastly saying, I am grinding it out. I am battling for every minute that I might get. And I understand what my position is. She knows that Bridget Carlton is holding that spot right now, coming off a career season herself. She knows that she is going to be battling for the opportunities that she gets. But she was another one with Cheryl Reeve early on saying, we want to unleash what she is capable of in the full court, especially in that transition offense. And it's a unique kind of skill set to the rest of the team, to her ability to just speed down the floor to finish, to beat entire teams down. And I saw it. I broadcasted a number of her games at Maryland
Yeah.
with a lot of Big Ten that I see as well. So that was something I always associate with her from very early on. Cheryl clearly believes that it is transferable. It's just unfortunate where she didn't have that first off season. She's been set behind because of these injuries. But I think her coming off a healthy and full season overseas playing in Poland, where she said, yes, it was very boring there, but good for her so she could focus
Right.
on basketball
Boring can
and
be good
improving.
sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly. Getting reps, working on her game. I think that she's someone when she finds that confidence, finds that right role for her in that second unit, seeing how they can really unfurl what she's capable of and her specific skill set, I think that could be a really high moment.
Right. And that club in Poland too, Gorjan, I believe I'm pronouncing it right. I've looked at it several times. and said it several times now because that is the same club that Lan played for in 2022 at a time when she thought her WNBA career might be over. And I'm not saying that is similar thoughts to Diamond, but obviously there's, at a time of, some adversity with just all the injuries she's dealt with. So maybe Gorjon's a little bit boring, but maybe there's like the elixir of life is there too. And we're only seeing evidence of it through women's basketball. So that might need to be investigated further. But I've always been super impressed with Diamond as a person. And I think she probably had the most notable conversation with us at Media Day yesterday because you could tell like she had thought about what she wanted to say, and Diamond's always been just a very well-spoken great quote, but you can tell like that she's been hurt and frustrated with just the way her career has gone and all these injuries she's had to fight through, and impressed upon it that it has not been easy at all for her. But I think she's shown a lot of maturity and just understanding in like the way she's gone about it, because like I've never seen her pout at all. And I think anytime she's been able to get some momentum going, it's just been one thing after the other. But I do think she could be kind of like the fly in the ointment for any team trying to game plan for the Lynx if there is this second unit style of play that's dictated by Diamond's transition ability that is completely different from what they play when it's the starters out there. And that is the idea of that is just super exciting.
Yeah, how cool is that to have a group that you trust to put out there, but bring something completely fresh, not just to sub in, not just relieving, that first group, that starting group, but to actually really put pressure on teams in a different
Mm-hmm.
kind of way. And I think Diamond, especially having that full season overseas, being able to really fine-tune things, I think at this level in the WNBA, looking at like her shot selection and things like that, the decision making that's a little bit different from when you come from, the Big Ten and making that jump to the WNBA, realizing, this is going to get my shot blocked, for example, or let's pass this one out and slow it down. I think those are the things that are going to really help her make that even bigger jump. Having consistency on the floor, I think that's the biggest thing too, is just having her get reps on the floor, full court. She was the perfect candidate to go overseas and, to have a great season there and have a full healthy season as well. So I think you're right that this is a group that can have an entirely different kind of flavor,
Mm-hmm.
pace, certainly too.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that should be, especially with the depth that we saw last year, that looks like, the team is going to have and possess this year too, how that's going to be extremely challenging to try and scout and stop.
Right. And going back, you mentioned broadcasting your games at Maryland. I imagine you were, as I was, were in the house for the 2023 Big Ten tournament at
I was.
Target Center. And I think the best game of that tournament was, at least for me, was Maryland, Iowa. And I think it was the semifinals. And Diamond had a great game. Caitlin Clark had a great game. There was a play in the second half, and I'm not here to be like, hey, do you remember this one play from more than 2 years ago, Sloane? But there's a play in the second half where Caitlin took a charge on Diamond, and Diamond was just had his steam attacking the hoop. And it was Caitlin was on the tracks and the train was coming through. And she did what she's supposed to do. She stayed, stuck her ground, took the charge. Foul was called on Diamond, and Caitlin stayed down for a little bit and got back up. And then Iowa wins the game by 4 or 5 points, something like that. But I remember in the post game presser, Caitlin was asked about that play, and she said something along the lines of like Diamond Miller coming at you with that much pace and that much energy is about as scary of a sight as you can have in this sport. And I've kind of just thought about that quote ever since. At that time, it was kind of consensus that Diamond was probably going to go number 2 to the Lynx. So we're all paying pretty close attention to her. But I'm like, yeah, when Diamond's like going like that, even in a play that ended up being a net positive for the other team, it's still striking fear into the best player in the country, and just kind of illustrating like her abilities and the things that she does well is like such a rare ability that not a lot of players in the league have.
I'm really glad you did not put me on the spot because I 100% did broadcast that game play by play on the air Big Ten Network the last 4 years. I've gone up to the semifinals before either ESPN or CBS takes over for the championship game. But as you talked about it, it all came back to me and that reaction too.
Mhm.
And I wonder, maybe is this a Maryland thing? Because you know who I also don't want trucking at me is Alyssa Thomas, for example. So maybe that's something that
If
they
you've
teach
ever
over
played
there.
basketball at Maryland, I'm not taking a charge. I'm
True.
stepping aside, be like, all right, like yeah, maybe
You,
10
you
years
got
ago I
it.
would have, yeah. So that definitely could be a Maryland thing, but yeah, just since then, I really hope that um she's blessed with the health to stay on the court for a long time and really see what she's got. I think these two preseason games I think are actually going to be really fun. People can
Yes.
preseason games in all sports, you can kind of be like take or leave, but part of that great broadcast announcement yesterday, the both preseason games will be on TV, so we can see it. And I'm really interested to see, how what kind of like ways Cheryl plays with the lineup, see how she's envisioned some of these players who will have not quite the same role as the starters, and things that what we get going. Um, since those are the first games coming up, what are you looking to see out of the Sky? They're obviously a team that has gotten a lot of attention in the last couple of years. And also, I'm going to have Alyssa Hirsch, our great Sky beat writer, on next week. But of course, there's a reason why Lynx fans will be paying attention to the Sky this year. That's Minnesota owns their first round draft pick. So it's never too early to scoreboard watch. I don't think any Lynx fans will be cheering for the Sky, but we get two looks out at them in the preseason. Sort of, what are you expecting to see out of them early in the year, Sloan?
Yeah, it's interesting to see them go back to back against this same team. I mean, clearly the Sky, they maybe they don't think that they're still in this rebuilding phase because the Lynx possess that first round pick. When Cheryl worked that out and was able to maneuver it to get Carly Samuelson, but still keep that Sky pick, I thought that could be a very high pick in the first round of the
Yes.
26 draft. Maybe the Sky would disagree with that. I still see this team as in the rebuilding phase. I think it's an interesting question to see what the next step is going to be for their bigs, Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso. How are they going to diversify their game? Can they go outside the paint, outside of 5 feet? Is Angel Reese going to improve her efficiency from deep inside? And have an article opened up that I have to read from the Chicago area. Her talking about that today, where she said, I know that I had to develop and improve after that rookie season. That's what we all expect, right? They're
Yeah.
far from fully formed products. So that's thinking about those kind of players with their size and the ability that's existing there to think about what that next step could be. We're just gonna think a sneak peek about maybe how big that step is going to be. But if you have those two players, I think, who are able to at least face up a little bit more, become a little bit more of a threat, even, I'm talking just outside the paint 10 feet or so. I think that can completely transform that team as opposed to just shooting right at the rim as well. So that's something that I really think defines that team in particular. But interested also in Ariel Atkins,
Yes.
that veteran presence and, a little bit maybe of a downtime for her, not making the Olympic team and, being in a frustrating situation where you're losing a lot of games and seeing kind of how she is able to navigate being a main leader on this team too. And Courtney Vandersloot is back as well. If anyone wants to accuse me of a bias, it's going to be that I support players born before 1990. There are very few I can
Oh
count
man,
on one,
yeah.
but Courtney Vandersloot is going to be one of them by virtue of being born in, I think, 1989. But interested to see how
Hey,
she kind of comes back to the Chicago Sky as well.
80s babies, we gotta stick together. I'm in that boat as
Yes.
well. I would have assumed that Sloot was younger, so I'm happy to know. Thank you for bringing that up, that
Hmm.
Sloot was born in 1989. Great year. And
Yes.
so yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I really want to see how Sloot and Ariel Atkins play together. And also it's the reunion of Angel Reese and Haley Van Lith. So there's
That's right.
not there's no shortage of storylines out of Chicago as usual. Um, I don't know what it's going to translate into this first year, especially first year coach again. No matter what you thought of Teresa Witherspoon's job last year, I was not connected enough to know. But I know that coaching in the WNBA is hard. I can confidently say that's an accurate statement, and not a ton of people master it in year one, no matter what kind of roster that they have. So the fact that they're having young players like Reese and Cardoso start again with a new coach, it could go great. But that just seems like a tall order. So Lynx fans, start, if you haven't put the Chicago Sky schedule into your Google calendars yet, it might be I think it might be a fun year of scoreboard watching for that, but that's just a way for us to spend our time on the off days. But I'm
No,
really
I
excited.
completely agree. You're right. I think you got to keep an extra eye on that team because it directly affects this Lynx team. I could be completely wrong. I still feel like there's a good chance that that could be resulting in a pretty good draft placement.
Right, we got to start the 2026 draft content now, so that we're so that we're prepared. All right, Sloane, thank you again so much for taking the time today. Always a pleasure. I won't know what to do without seeing you and the rest of the folks on the Lynx beat on the off day tomorrow.
I know.
So I might just have to go to the Mayo Clinic Square Jimmy John's just so that I'm adjacent to the facility and not have too many withdrawals. But anything else? Where can the people follow you? Where can there's obviously a million places to do so. So I don't want to try and do it now and forget, but uh,
Yes.
where can they follow you on social, and then just where are all the lovely places they can find your work?
I appreciate that very much. On Twitter/X. It is just at Sloane Martin, Sloane with an E. On Instagram, it's underscore Sloane Martin. And then, of course, this coming season, I really hope that folks will join me as someone who just brings such a breadth and a depth of experience with this team, whose basically entire year is women's basketball. So I think it'll be really fun to connect again and pick that back up. Of course, select games on KFan will let you know. How many or how that goes throughout the season. But definitely the iHeart app and the Lynx app as well. KFan for the most part. And I think it's going to be just a really fun season for the squad too. And looking forward to getting back on the road.
For sure. So download the iHeart app if you haven't yet. Download the Lynx app for sure if you haven't yet. If you're listening to this and you haven't downloaded the Lynx app, I don't know what you're doing. But be that as it may, go download those apps right now. Catch Sloane on the airwaves this season. Sloane, thanks again for taking the time. And yeah, looking forward for the rest of training camp and preseason with you. And let's get this season started. Thank you again to Sloane Martin. I always want to say Sloane Peterson from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Great movie. But yeah, Sloane Martin. Thank you, Pentz Homes. Thank you, basketball, for existing. Thank you, Minnesota Lynx, for being an amazing team to cover. Thank you, fans, for listening. It's going to be a great season, great preseason. So happy we have actual games. I don't care if they don't count in the standings. Basketball is being played and it's being shown on TV, damn it. And that is very, very exciting. Thank you for letting Lynx Happy Hour be a part of the ride and your experience where Lynx basketball is always on special. I have been Terry Horseman. You have been excellent. I'll catch you all again next week. You can follow me at Terry Horseman on all the socials, at Terrence Horseman on Instagram. Read my stuff at The Next Hoops. Listen to everything on the Hitting the Hardwood Podcast Network. Read Mitchell stuff as well. Just immerse yourself in Lynx content. It's the right thing to do, and you'll be happy for it. Thank you again to everyone, and have a great weekend.